Hey, what's up everyone? Today I'm going to be telling you guys how to start the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC slash expansion in Elden Ring. So shortly after Shadow of the Erdtree DLC was announced, people figured out that you'd have to defeat Mohg, the Lord of Blood, to be able to get to the DLC itself. But there's actually two bosses you need to defeat, and that is Star Scourge Radahn and Mohg, the Lord of Blood. And today I'm going to show you guys how to both get to those bosses and then, of course, start the DLC. First, I'll tell you how to get to Star Scourge Radahn if you've never went and fought him, since he is technically an optional boss and not actually required to, quote, beat the game. Same with Mohg, or Mohg, or however you say it. There's two different ways you can get to Radahn. There's one that is considered like the normal playthrough way, and there is a little bit of a faster way. First, we will talk about the more normal way to get there. So, to get to Radahn, you have to get to Redmane Castle, but first you need to have the Radahn Festival unlocked to be able to actually get to him and fight him. The easiest way to get to him in the normal playthrough of the game, you have to get through Stormville Castle and you have to defeat Godric the Grafted. Once you have him defeated, you can go to Liurnia of the Lakes region, and specifically from there you're going to go to the Ryad Lucaria Academy. You're going to fight your way through there, and that's where you will eventually get to Renala, Queen of the Full Moon. You'll fight her, you'll defeat her. Once you have beaten both Godric and Renala, you can make your way to Redmane Castle and the Radahn Festival, where you can meet up with some, summons that will help you fight if you've, met enough of them in the game. But another way to activate the Radahn Festival is to activate any site of grace in the amber fields of the Atlas Plateau after getting both the right and left halves of the Dectus medallion and taking the Dectus lift up to the Atlas Plateau area. And like I said, you'll just enter and touch any site of grace, which will then unlock your ability to get to Redmane Castle. So to get the two pieces of the medallion you'll need, first I'll tell you about the left one. You need to go to Fort Haight, or however you say it, in the starting area of Limgrave. It's only a few minutes ride from the first site of grace ever. You actually don't have to fight any enemies when you get here. You can just run right in, you grab the medallion, and then run out or die and respawn. But you don't want to miss those precious runes if you're a lower level character or just new to the game. You might just want to try and get out of there. And at the same time, you can do that for the right half of the medallion, which is located in Fort Faroth in the northern Caelid region. After you've got both halves of the medallion, just head to the Dectus lift at the north end of Liurnia, or however you say that. It's on Bellum Highway. We'll just say that. And then you will follow the hoist a medallion prompt that will come up on your screen. And while you're when you get up to the top, you ride straight north for a moment, and you'll see a site of grace, which I believe is the actual Atlas Plateau site of grace itself. Once you've activated that site of grace, you can then go to Redmane Castle and start your battle with Radahn. Next, you will want to fight Mohg, Lord of Blood. This is not the same Mohg that's in the sewers of Leyndell or whatever the capital city's name is. That's a different version of Mohg. I'm pretty sure that's the same person. I don't remember. Elden Ring lore is kind of crazy. But anyways, the normal method, which is a pretty long method to get to Mohg, to get to Mohg, Lord of Blood, it's a little trickier than getting to Radahn and all that fun stuff. But we'll start with the normal method, which is longer. So to get to the Mohgwyn Dynasty Mausoleum, you'll need to play through a good portion of the game. There's a golden path of the story that you'll want to get to. You'll have to defeat a lot of main bosses, all the way up through Morgott, the Omen King. You'll have to defeat him. That's the last boss you'll need to actually defeat of the main story bosses before you can get to Mohg and, start ripping him a new one so you can finally play the DLC. Once you've defeated Morgott, you can make your way to the Grand Lift of Rold, which will take you to a snow-covered area called the Forbidden Lands. There's kind of a problem here, though. The western part of the Forbidden Lands, it's called the Consecrated Snowfields, is hidden and requires another special split medallion to get to. So you'll need another left and right half of a medallion, but don't worry, I'll tell you how to get those. The first part of the medallion is found in Castle Sol in the northern area of the Forbidden Lands that you're just made it to. It requires you to beat a decently tough boss named Commander Nile, so I guess you still need to find another boss, but I don't know if Commander Nile is a main boss. But once you have him defeated, you will have one side of the medallion. The other half of the medallion can be found back in the southwest Liurnia in an area called Village of the Albinarics. Those weird albino guys, the big head, big old bug-eyed, big old fat gut dudes. Those guys. You go to the village of them. It's kind of a weird spot to find at first, but you'll eventually find it. It's kind of like a cave, but not at the same time. I don't know how to really describe it. It's just like there's like a big overhang to it, like a bunch of land that just overhanging this little area that's secluded and hidden because they don't want anyone bothering them, which I get that. But once you're there, you're going to want to listen. You're going to hear some moaning coming from like a large jar, and of course, what do you do with any jars or any breakable things in this game, like chairs and tables? You roll through it, and you'll break it, and you'll meet a guy named Albus, who gives you the other half of the medallion you need. Alright, so now that you have both halves of the medallion, head back to the Grand Lift of Rold. There's now a second option when you hit the lift that says Hoist Secret Medallion, and that prompt will be on your screen after, I believe, you hit left or right on the D-pad. I'm not sure what that is on keyboard, but I'm sure the prompt is there, or that you can probably figure it out, because PC players probably can translate console to keyboard, like controls, but I'm sorry that I do not know. But you will make sure you click Hoist Secret Medallion. Alright, so now that you've hoisted the Secret Medallion and you're in the Consecrated Snowfields area finally, you can make your way to the kind of southwest portion of this area. There is a, I believe, like a Sanguine Noble, I think is what it is. You'll find, he's in an area with ruins. You're going to find a blood-soaked portal, and that will take you to Mohg's area. You still need to fight through the mausoleum itself and actually get to Mohg and fight him. At this point in the game, you're probably going to be a decent level, so Mohg really shouldn't be that difficult, especially if you use your Wondrous Flask and use a purifying whatever crystal. It's in there somewhere. But you'll want to drink that because his blood loss is pretty gnarly. Now, there is a kind of faster and kind of easier method to get to Mohg. The normal way, depending on the kind of player you are, can take a pretty long time. Even if you're really good, it can still take some time. Because I'm not like the worst player, but I'm not the best player either. And this was probably around 40 plus hours in the game before I really got to Mohg in my first character's playthrough. Second character playthrough, I did this faster, easier method. That's not super fast, but it's definitely faster than the other way of just playing through the game and doing all that other stuff. So one of the first NPCs you meet at the beginning of the game, once you come with the elevator that takes you to Limgrave, his name is White Mask Var. So you'll talk to him the first time, and then you'll just play the game like normal. You need to go defeat Godric, and then once you've taken him down, Var will move to the Rose Church that's in Liurnia, which is on a small island in like the western part of the lake area. You'll talk to Var, and you're going to want to answer with the option where something seems off with the two fingers. After you say that, Var will give you or not just one, several festering bloody fingers, which you can and should, to continue this method, you use to invade other players' games. So you only need to technically invade their game, so you don't have to like beat the people that you invade, or even fight them if you didn't want to. You could just use a finger severer as soon as you invade the game and leave immediately. But if you want to fight some people, try and beat them, maybe get some practice in, or, try and get some pretty good rewards for beating the world players that you just went into, then you can do that. But if you're just trying to speed along, then just finger sever yourself out of there and boom, you're back. You'll just want to invade 3 players' worlds and you're good to go. So after that, you're going to want to go speak to Var again, and he will reveal himself as a servant of Mohg, and he's going to invite you to join the Knights of Luminary Mohg. So you're going to respond with the option that says Anoint Me. And then he gives you the Lord of Blood's favor item, which you'll need to soak in the blood of a maiden. And there are 2 different maidens that you can go to complete this task. So the easiest place to find an already dead maiden, so you don't have to kill anybody, and it won't affect any story or any quest, which I'll get to later with the other one, is just a little bit kind of north, like northwest of the Frenzied Flame Village area in Liurnia. It's the Church of Inhibition. You'll just stroll up to the maiden and you'll select a prompt, Soak the Lord of Blood's favor. Also, this other maiden, right after you defeat Godric, there is a maiden who pops up in that side of grace right after him that leads you to Liurnia of the Lakes area. Her name is Hyetta. You don't have to kill her. You can go get this other maiden's blood, but you can kill her and soak this thing with her blood and all that fun stuff. But, she gives quests and items and stuff like that. So So if you don't want to like miss her quest or whatever, then you shouldn't do that. But if you don't care, then go ahead. She's actually technically easier to get to because she's just right there. So whichever source you decide to go with, you'll need to return to Var again, and you'll want to give him the blood-soaked favor. He'll finally induct you into the order, and you also gain the Pure Blood Knight's Medal, which you then go into your inventory and use, and it will take you to Mohg's palace. So you can either sprint or fight your way through. There's a lot of enemies. Some of them run at you and explode, and it's like a bloody mist. And then there's some other like Mohg order guys who can inflict some decent blood loss on you if you're not careful. But eventually you will get to an elevator area. You step on this button, it takes you up, and this is where, if you don't want to fight him alone, you can summon some people to help you fight. So after you've defeated Mohg and got his rune and his remembrance, you'll notice towards the back of this courtyard area where you fought him, where, you know, you think there'd be like a nice throne chair or something for a lord to be sitting on. No, there's like a fleshy cocoon thing with an arm hanging out of it. Well, to start the DLC, you'll want to go up to that area, and you will want to touch the withered arm hanging out of that cocoon, and boom, you have started the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC from there. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope this guide kind of helped you guys a little bit. If it did help you, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Comment if you want to comment something, or if you have better tips and tricks for other people watching the video. That would be cool, because this is just my knowledge of the game. And, you know, I did have to look up some things, like, you know, the names of things. I probably still botched the way I said some of the names, but oops. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Toodaloo.